In the late 1960s, Northern California was alive with change. But beneath the peace and love, fear crept in. A killer stalked the Bay Area, targeting victims at random, always under the cover of darkness. He wasn't just a murderer. He was a performer, craving the spotlight. He called himself the Zodiac. The Zodiac's terror was personal. He made everyone feel vulnerable, communicating directly with the public through taunting letters. He wanted his name in headlines, his puzzles in every hand. His symbol, a circle with a cross, became an icon of unsolved crime. The Zodiac's evil was intelligent, patient, and methodical. He claimed to collect slaves for the afterlife, adding a bizarre layer to the fear. The city was gripped by psychological warfare. The Zodiac manipulated the media and taunted police. He threatened more killings, even a school bus, keeping himself in the news. The real mystery wasn't just his identity, but the mind behind such calculated cruelty. The questions he raised then still haunt us today. The shadow he cast has never truly lifted. The Zodiac's reign began on a cold December night in 1968. Teenagers Betty Lou Jensen and David Faraday were shot dead on their first date. Their lives ended in a remote lover's lane. Months later, on July 4th, 1969, Darlene Ferrin and Michael Mageau were attacked in Vallejo. Darlene killed Michael, barely surviving. The killer called police himself, calmly taking credit for both attacks. "I also killed those kids last year," he said, his voice chilling and monotone. The call was traced to a payphone near the police station. Suddenly, the public realized a serial killer was at large. The Zodiac targeted young couples in isolated spots, executing his attacks with cold precision. He was bold, brazen, and wanted everyone to know it. The connection between the crimes established a terrifying pattern. The fear in the Bay Area boiled over. No one felt safe. The Zodiac had announced his presence, and the hunt for him had begun. The killer was no longer a phantom. He was a name, a voice, and a threat. The Bay Area would never be the same. The Zodiac's pattern was set random, ruthless, and always one step ahead. The terror was only beginning. The Zodiac craved a bigger audience. On July 31st, 1969, he sent 3 letters to local newspapers, each containing a third of a cryptic cipher. He demanded publication, threatening more violence if ignored. The letters were chilling, filled with arrogance and a sense of superiority. He signed with his now infamous cross-circle symbol. The newspapers complied, and the entire region became obsessed with cracking the code. A week later, a high school teacher and his wife solved it. The message was horrifying. The Zodiac claimed killing was so much fun, and that he was collecting slaves for the afterlife. He refused to reveal his name, deepening the mystery. On August 4th, another letter arrived. "This is the Zodiac speaking." He taunted police, boasted of his crimes, and made it clear he was in control. The Zodiac's letters transformed him from a faceless killer into a media villain. He played a public game, and the city was his audience. The ciphers, the threats, the name, they all fueled the fear. The Zodiac had become a legend in real time. The Zodiac's attacks grew more theatrical. On September 27, 1969, at Lake Berryessa, he approached college students Brian Hartnell and Cecilia Shepard in a bizarre hooded costume. He claimed to be an escaped convict, then tied them up and stabbed them repeatedly. He marked their car with his symbol and the dates of his previous crimes. Brian survived. Cecilia died 2 days later. The Zodiac called police to report the attack, leaving the phone dangling at a nearby payphone. 2 weeks later, he struck in San Francisco. On October 11th, 1969, taxi driver Paul Stein was shot in Presidio Heights. The killer took Stein's wallet, keys, The killer took Stein's wallet, keys, and a piece of his shirt. Teenagers witnessed the aftermath, but a police dispatch error allowed the Zodiac to slip away. The killer had moved from remote areas to the heart of the city. No one was safe, not even in crowded neighborhoods. The Zodiac's reign of terror was escalating. His crimes were now pure theater, designed to terrify. The city was gripped by fear and frustration. Paul Stein's murder gave police their best chance to catch the Zodiac. Witnesses provided a composite sketch, and for a moment, hope surged. But the investigation was hampered by poor communication between police departments. The Zodiac's crimes spanned multiple jurisdictions, creating confusion and misconnections. His taunting letters and ciphers flooded police with tips and theories, most leading nowhere. The killer seemed to enjoy the chaos, always staying just out of reach. Despite tireless work by detectives, the evidence was never enough. The Zodiac faded from headlines, leaving only fear and unanswered questions. The case grew cold, and the killer became a legend. Over the years, suspicion focused on a few key suspects. Arthur Lee Allen was the most prominent. He owned a Zodiac brand watch, matched some circumstantial evidence, and was obsessed with the most dangerous game. But his fingerprints, DNA, and handwriting didn't match the Zodiac's. Allen died in 1992, his secrets intact. More recently, Gary Francis Posta was named by private investigators, citing scars and supposed coded clues. Law enforcement remains skeptical. The evidence is circumstantial and unverified. The Zodiac case remains officially unsolved. New technologies and citizen sleuths keep the mystery alive, but speculation often outpaces proof. The story is filled with possibilities, but no suspect has ever been definitively proven to be the killer. The search for the Zodiac's identity continues. The Zodiac's story became a blueprint for the modern media villain. He inspired films like Dirty Harry, where the villain Scorpio taunted police and terrorized the city. Decades later, David Fincher's Zodiac captured the obsession and frustration of the real investigation. The case has fueled books, documentaries, podcasts, and endless online theories. The Zodiac is more than a criminal. He's a piece of modern folklore. The unsolved nature of the crimes keeps the story alive. People are drawn to the puzzle, compelled to solve what the police could not. His ciphers and theatrics created a narrative that is both terrifying and irresistible. The Zodiac's shadow still looms over our imagination. Why does the Zodiac still fascinate us? Because his story has no ending. Most crime stories end with justice. The Zodiac simply vanished, leaving only questions. His direct engagement with the public made the case personal. His letters and ciphers invited everyone into his twisted game. The Zodiac created a mystery that made us all participants. He was a villain with a name, a symbol, and a flair for the dramatic. The case has all the elements of a great detective novel, except it's real. The victims were real. The fear was real. The fear was real. And the killer was never caught. The Zodiac is a ghost in American true crime, a symbol of chaos and evil that got away. As long as his identity remains unknown, the story will be retold, each generation asking, who was the Zodiac? His greatest legacy is the riddle he left behind, a puzzle that may never be solved.